Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Things I Bought and Instantly Regretted. Okay, well maybe not that bad, but today we are going to take a look at this Beast Hunters Voyager class Optimus Prime. Now I really originally had no interest in buying this figure at all, except that I had done all those other Beast Hunters Optimus Primes, and I know people kept pointing it out to me that I didn't do this one yet. I needed to have this one, so just for you guys, this is all for you, I am going to do this figure because you wouldn't let me forget about it. So, let's take a look in the photo tent here. We have the Beast Hunters Optimus Prime Autobot leader with sword and shield. This is an intermediate, level 2. You got some information there, blah blah blah. You can pause, take a look if you want to. There we can see what the figure supposedly looks like in truck mode and robot mode. He's got a firing cannon, a Nexus sword, and vector shield. Wowza! And then some artwork on the side. So just your plain little window box, and I can tell right now looking at it, we've got all these little twist tie bands in here I'm going to have to struggle and fight with. This ought to be fun. So, alright, let's get at it. Rip this thing open and take a look. You know, people sometimes say scissors, knives, those things help. I say, I'm not your grandma. I do things with my hands, alright? I don't need tools. I don't need things to help me out. Let's see, we've got a nice little backdrop box here. If you're going to put something on display, you want to have a little box on your shelf, there you go. That's pretty nifty. Huh? Nifty? Alright, here is our Optimus Prime. Oh boy. You know what? We're going to take a quick break and we're going to have him just kind of pop out of his plastic here. Let's go ahead and do our magic. And there he is. Using our video magic. We've got an Optimus Prime. Taking him fresh out of the package, first thing you notice, his toes are actually not flipped out because he was in the box. So let's take care of that. Let's throw him in the photo tent, see what we think. Alright, Optimus Prime. Quite frankly, he doesn't look all that bad. He honestly looks a lot like the little guys, I don't know, was that Commander class that I did several weeks ago talking about the, actually when I first started the Beast Hunters Optimus Primes. That's pretty much what he looks like, except he's got the green accents added into him, but you've got a set of wheels at the top, which is kind of like what they did with the little guy, but for the most part, he looks exactly like that little one. Well, not exactly. I mean, there are a few things. But we've got some things that are sticking out to me right from the start. Much like the Dragon Blast one we looked at earlier, he's got plastic wheels. They are not rubber wheels. They're just a hard plastic, which, you know, does make it feel a little cheap. Also, these big plastic pieces are all hollow, and it feels really light. I mean, this feels like less than, I don't know, less than a bag of chips, less than a loaf of bread, less than, I don't know, whatever. Like a hardback book feels like it's probably heavier than this thing. So this doesn't feel like there's a whole lot there for your toy. And I'm noticing that the legs, they have this piece, this attachment here, which I'm guessing is a wheel guard. We'll get to that in a minute. But it kind of wants to overlap here. Like I'm having a hard time finding a good way of posing his legs without these things kind of bumping into each other, except making him stand like he's got elephantitis of the, well, we'll just leave it at that. So he doesn't really stand that well. Looks a little funky. And these hollow parts here, you can see it's just empty. And unlike what they've done with some of the other figures recently, they didn't work any circuitry, they didn't, you know, sculpt anything extra into it. It's just a big hollow piece. Even the hands are hollow, and the bottoms there, and the hands don't twist at all. Normally that's one thing you can kind of give them credit for, is they at least make it so it's, you know, posable when you play with it. But the hands don't even move. we got ratchet elbows. We've got a little bit of shoulder here, and a little bit of ratchet in the shoulder too. So that's kind of interesting. We do have hips, ratchet to the sides, and a little bit forward. Knees have a ratchet. Lots of ratcheting going on this one, so at least you can pose it and it'll help to hold that position. Although with the wheels being up here, you can't move his arms back a whole lot. They can pretty much just kind of be at the side or move forward. But I guess from a purely aesthetic standpoint, if this was sitting on my shelf in robot mode, he doesn't look all that bad. As far as, I mean, they cheaped out on the articulation and whatever, but looking at him straight on like this, he actually looks pretty good. We've got a shield here, and the shield is actually made, it looks like here, so it can either go on his arm, pegged into the hole, or it's got a second peg here that can go in the hand, so he can actually, you know, shield himself. That's kind of cool. I also noticed here on the back there is a spot on his butt where you can stick it in there, and if you want to kind of get it out of the way, but it doesn't fold out. Unlike the other ones that would fold out into like a set of wings to come in the back, it just sits there. So that's a little disappointing as far as that goes. He does have his sword. It is green. It is once again pegged, so I'm sure there are some storage options as far as that goes, and can slide right here into his hand. And then we have one of these launching gun pieces. Woo! Wasn't that exciting? And it also has pegs on it, so there are some options. And this missile looks a lot like some of the ones that come with these smaller figures. So maybe it's interchangeable with some of those. Maybe I'll check that out later, let you guys know in a follow-up. But, you know, overall, like I said, if this is just going up on my shelf, and I'm not really, you know, looking at it for the idea of playing with it, giving it to a kid, or, you know, doing something like that, I think this actually looks pretty good. Overall, I'd say this is a nice bookshelf robot mode. But, you know, everyone has their own idea. But I'd say, you know, compared to some of the other figures I've seen, the wheels being up here actually don't bother me as much as I thought they would when I first saw this guy. I think, you know, overall, it's an interesting design. I kind of like the look as far as this big guy goes. So, all right, let's take this big guy and let's go ahead and use our magic of video editing and transform him. And wow, transform, look at that. Woo! All right, here is our Optimus Prime alt mode. Let's go ahead and throw him in the photo tent, take a look. In his alt mode here, a couple things kind of stand out at me, and one, it was the transformation process was almost exactly the same as the tiny little guy. When we looked at the tiny little guys who had the wheels up by the head that actually kicked off this round of Formers Fridays episodes, this transforms almost exactly as that tiny little guy, except it's in a gigantic truck. And so that's a little freaky, actually. But I think it works overall. I think for the most part, he's got a nice look as this cab. Again, I'm not sure about this Beast Hunter stuff. I'm not sure if I really like those particular accents, him being, you know, some sort of battle-ready, you know, machine, but whatever. It's got the overall look I like. It's the short-nosed cab. It's red. You got the smokestacks. You've got the blue legs back here. You've got the gray trailer. I mean, this does a really good job of invoking G1 Optimus Prime. There are a few problems that we need to point out. One, I don't know why this wheel is so beat up. All the others are perfect in their silver paint, and that is just all beat to crap. And I don't know. Oh, it's just flaking right off there in my hand. That's great. Hey, you want some silver paint? Here you go. Have some. So, I mean, that kind of sucks. You got to be, I guess, really careful how you're going to treat this, which means for most kids, these are going to be 90% scratched off by the time they're done playing with it over the next few years. And the arms, you can see the arms, you just flip them over, peg them together, and stick them in the back here, exactly like the tiny guy. And so you just have these big funky shapes just kind of stuck in there. From this view, you know, you can see that they're sticking through, but honestly, it really isn't all that noticeable. It's not that big of a deal. But I think, you know, from this view, this looks actually pretty awful. This opening here at the top, and these big pieces sticking through there. You can also see that the legs just held together by this little bar here to distance them, but otherwise they are just kind of these big chunky open pieces. There's no for this back view, I mean, there's nothing. You're not going to take another transformer and slide them in the back, you know, like you're going to transport them on the truck or anything like that. I mean, it's just, I don't know, just that, from this point of view, it looks like junk. This point of view, not bad. This point of view, not bad. But from really any other angle, it looks pretty bad. So that's probably going to limit the way that you display it from time to time. Now, one thing I did notice when I transformed him is here at his hips, there's actually a little bit of give. They, if you can see how that's kind of moving, they actually put a little bit of give in there, so when you're transforming him, you don't have to be as precise, I guess. The arms rotate all the way around, and you've got some give there. You can move stuff out of the way. It just makes it a little bit easier to transform, so good on them for throwing that. Here's our shield, and it's got pieces here on the top where it can attach and kind of stick on the top of him. Like we've come to expect, exactly like the little guy, once again. We've got his sword here. Now, if I remember correctly, isn't this sword supposed to be blue? And for some reason they made it green? Is that right? I hope I'm remembering that correctly. We've got his other gun, which goes on here. Again, exactly like the little guy. And there you go. There is your kind of souped up, battle-ready Optimus Prime. There's the Voyager class Beast Hunters Optimus Prime. They didn't give him any other name beyond that. I keep looking for it to be like, I don't know, Urban Assault Optimus Prime, or I don't know, King of the Plant Fairies Optimus Prime with this thing. I don't know, but no, it's just the Beast Hunters Voyager class Optimus Prime, which, okay, whatever. I think I like King of the Plant Fairies Optimus Prime, with the shield, with the face looking in it, and having these green wings on it. This mode doesn't excite me as much as the robot mode. This alt mode just has too many issues for me if I was displaying it. One, I think that shield is sitting up way too high on top. It's not like it's making a lid for this trailer piece. It's just, you know, they made it deep so that he can hold it in his hand, and he's got the extra room to hold it. But when it sits on top, it just looks really goofy. It really needs, I think, if it's going to attach, it needs to, you know, fit down in here some way and attach. And of course, you can't do that because of the way the pegs are. If I fight with it, you go where I tell you to go, you stupid shield. I think a look like that, something along those lines, would be much better than what they did. Also, the weapons, I'm not a big fan of just having the weapons stuck here on the side. It's one thing if they're somehow usable. For instance, if this were to be stuck on in a way here, where then it would flip out, you know, so you could at least, as you're playing, you know, as you're a kid playing with a toy, or a grown-up like me playing with a toy, you know, if you had it there, then you could at least like swing it out and have it attack other cars going by. But here, it's just kind of, it doesn't really do enough to cover up the side to add to the look of the trailer. It's just kind of folded on. And this one you can't really shoot because if you look, if I can line it up here, you can see it's running right into that smokestack there. I mean, it is a little loose and wobbly, which is a different problem altogether. I actually kind of wish there was some other way of attaching it, maybe even, to shoot straight off the back. If there was some way to, tab it in up here so it's shooting out that way, or something like that. But so altogether, this alt mode doesn't really do a whole lot for me. I much prefer the robot mode, and the robot mode is going to be the way that I think I'm going to actually display this on my shelf, because this alt mode, not for me. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Formers Friday. Don't forget to go to popculturenetwork.com, check out all the other reviews and previews and podcasts and whatnots we've got going on there. You can also contact me on Twitter. It's at PCN_dirt. A lot of people ask me about WrestleMania. It was great this year. Let's see. You can also call our 24-hour voicemail line. It's area code 217-953-4025. And you can also go to jointheforums.com, the official forums of the Pop Culture Network. Talk to all the other great toy fans, comic fans, movie fans that are all over the place on jointheforums.com. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.